What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and today I am going to be giving you my thoughts on the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Now, there's no real point in me doing a reaction because I don't really show my face on this camera unless it's incidental, so a reaction without seeing my face reacting to something would just be me going, oh, look at that thing on the screen. Like, there's nothing to really write home about if I were to do a reaction, but I just wanted to give my thoughts on this because, as I've already discussed in the past, I don't really want to talk about Marvel unless it's something that I'm interested in, and me personally speaking, despite the fact that I'm not currently interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe state of things, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero and one of my favorite fictional characters ever, so I kind of want to just talk about this, and I had my trepidations about this movie. I definitely was nervous about certain things. I was like, I don't know if this will be that good, because it seemed like most of the hype that was surrounding this movie was based on unconfirmed rumors and assumptions that people were making about, for example, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield showing up, which still isn't confirmed, so it's not like I really have anything to go off there. Like, I don't really still believe that, but, one of my concerns going into this movie, based off of the way that the Tom Holland trilogy has been going so far, is the fact that in Far From Home, they kind of directly ignore or retcon or just completely, they just ignore the events that happened in the previous film. At the end of Spider-Man Homecoming, Aunt May finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and the Vulture keeps his identity a secret. In Spider-Man Far From Home, Mysterio reveals his identity, therefore ruining any of the ambiguity that was presented by having the Vulture not revealing his identity to the other criminals in the jail, and Aunt May is just totally okay with him being Spider-Man in the second film. So, I had problems with that. It made it feel like the events that happened in the previous film had no bearing on the rest of the movies going forward in the series, which bothered me. Whereas with this trailer, it looks like it looks like the events that happened at the end of the previous film are playing directly into the story of this one. It looks like it picks up right where Far From Home left off. Peter is, been framed by Mysterio for killing him or whatever and being in control of the drones and stuff. So, I'm kind of just, I'm just kind of like, I hope that they really do show the consequences that those events have on Peter's life. Because in the trailer, Peter's talking about it, he's like, this is hurting a lot of people, and it shows Aunt May and Ned in, interrogation rooms or something. But part of me is also like, are they just doing some fancy editing, or, some tricky editing or something in the trailer to actually make it look like there's going to be an impact, or are they just going to brush it off relatively quickly? Because, once again, it's a trailer. They could just be doing some tricky editing, and that those events don't really play that much into this film, and that it's going to be kind of rushed, and they have to jump into the plot. Because it sounds like this movie's going to have a lot to cover in, at least what I'm assuming will be, a relatively short amount of time, it's like a 2-hour movie, 2-hour-plus movie, but still, there's still a lot that they will have to cover if they're doing this whole multiverse thing, which I'm not necessarily that excited about, because I just can't really, the way Spider-Verse handled that concept was with a lot of creativity and, with an animated format. They did a lot with that movie that you can't do with live action, but now we're just going all out with the CG effects, and you guys know how I feel about overuse of CGI, and it just seems like this movie it affirms my fears in the regard that I really hope that the multiverse thing was just blown out of proportion and it wouldn't play into the film that much. But this trailer just seems to be really affirming the fact that, no, we're going full in on the multiverse thing, and it's going to be tied into the larger MCU thing. And the thing is, I don't care. I don't want to have to watch Loki in order to watch Spider-Man for No Way Home. I don't want to have to watch this movie as a prelude to Doctor Strange. This is kind of the amount of footage of Strange that they're showing in this trailer is very concerning to me, because I don't want this to be Doctor Strange 2 starring Spider-Man. That's kind of what it's starting to feel like for me. It's okay, it's going to be mostly set up for Doctor Strange 3. And I don't care. The thing is, I like Spider-Man, and I want to just see a story about Peter having to deal with things on his own. And I would like to have a story of him dealing with the events of the previous film and, what he's going to do about this and the effect that it's had on his life, and he has to deal with it on his own. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be that way. Like, it seems like, he's going to get bailed out of jail or something by Happy, assumedly, or something. And it's just like he's got all these people to back him up. But what I find interesting about Peter Parker and Spider-Man is when he doesn't have all these people to back him up and he has to work through these problems on his own. The final act of Spider-Man Homecoming did that, and I found it fascinating, But it just seems like here we're just kind of going back to we got to tie everything into the larger franchise. And I know that, it's kind of reasonable to think that, okay, in a world where people like Doctor Strange exist, Peter would go to Stephen Strange to ask for help in, like, this kind of situation. Like, that makes sense. But at the same time, I'd really like to see Peter deal with these problems on his own without turning to these supernatural beings to help him with his problems, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I just wish that we could get a story about Peter without having some other guy hanging over him. And the first one, it was Tony Stark. To be fair, in that film, I think they handled his role pretty well. He was kind of a background role, and Peter had to kind of grow out of his shadow. I love Homecoming. I think it's great. I've already talked about that in the past. Far From Home, I feel, had a bit more of the common Marvel problems with the tonal issues, The thing about Homecoming that I liked was that it was a comedy. It was like basically a comedy. So then when the dramatic beats happen, they actually hit harder and they surprise you. Like the Vulture twist where it's revealed that Vulture is actually Liz's dad. That's brilliant. Because as the audience, you weren't expecting that, so you're caught off guard just as much as Peter is in that moment. So, like, you are living that moment with Peter. It's such a well-done sequence in that film. And, the dramatic bits, I feel, hit better in that movie because of how, usually lighthearted that film is, so that the dramatic beats actually hit harder. But the thing is, the second two, like, Far From Home and now this, they feel like they're back to kind of they feel like they're relying too much on the MCU bad tonal issues where you have, like the first bit of this trailer is like, dark, Spider-Man's identity has been revealed, he has been, framed, and society hates him now, and he has to deal with these issues that are having a weight on his life. And then he just walks up to Doctor Strange and they're cracking jokes, and I'm like, this trailer just like feels like, if this trailer has tonal inconsistencies, it makes me afraid that the film will have tonal inconsistencies. And, like, Spider-Man Homecoming just had this really, like, fun sense to it. It's like a fun, funny movie, but then they had dramatic beats that hit really well because of how consistently funny that movie was. With Far From Home, it feels more like it's trying to fit into the MCU template, and this one feels like it's relying far too much on tying into the overarching narrative about the multiverse and all this stuff. And it's just like, I just don't care about that. Like, I just want to watch a movie about Spider-Man. I don't want it to be Doctor Strange 2 starring Spider-Man. Like, and I don't really care about, I'm not the kind of person who's like, screaming while watching the trailer when Alfred Molina as Doc Ock shows up. Like, okay, I guess that's cool. And I was hoping against hope that, just like casting J.K. Simmons just to play a different version of his same character from the Raimi movies, that Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina would just be playing different versions of their characters. But it does look like they're going to be playing their same characters again, which, is just kind of like, all right. And then they show a Green Goblin bomb, and I'm guessing, what's his name? What's his name? Shoot, what's the actor's name? Dang it. I am blanking on his name right now. I can't believe that I am blanking on his name. Willem Dafoe. I'm going to guess it's Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin reappearing. I'm assuming like with a different design, similar to the way Doc Ock looks, because he looks slightly different than he did in the Raimi movies, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm very conflicted, because when I watched this trailer, I felt like a sense of like fun to it. Like when I watched it, I was like smiling for the whole thing. It gave me a feeling that none of these other Marvel trailers or, movie things that are coming out or shows have given me. Like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier gave me that, but this is, like, none of these other projects have actually given me that feeling of, like, happiness. Like, oh, it's something that I'm comfortable with. And I don't know, I think it's just the fact that I like Spider-Man. Like, I'll watch the movie. I like Spider-Man, but also I'm afraid of the fact that we're going to yet again get another movie that's just so reliant on the tie-ins to the larger Marvel universe and isn't actually concerned with telling its own story. It just, like, has to shove in cameo after cameo of, like, reappearing characters, and we don't actually get a story about Tom Holland's Peter Parker. You know, and it's just, like, even, you know, Nick Fury showing up in the last movie. It's like, okay, first one we had Tony Stark, but his role was relatively minor. Then we have Nick Fury, who's not Nick Fury, and it's actually the Skrull guy, which has to set up this other, you know, Marvel plot line. And then now we have to have Doctor Strange and this whole thing. And I'm just like, so if this is really the event that sets off this entire multiverse plot line, is the fact that Peter Parker wouldn't shut up when Doctor Strange was doing a spell, that feels really weird. And the fact that Doctor Strange, this guy who's so stoic and knows the risks of magic and is just like, he's totally like, you know, he's very strict about the way that he uses magic. I just find it really weird that he's now like the same guy that was like, Tony, I'll let you and the kid die to protect the Infinity Stones, is now going, oh yeah, sure, Peter, I will change the space-time continuum to keep your, like, to change time so that people never knew who you were. Like, I just don't believe that he'd do that, and it just seems so silly. Like, this does not feel consistent with his character at all. And why, like, I don't understand why Peter would, I don't know, it's just, like, this movie looks so weird. Like, I'm hoping that all the stuff with Strange is, like, early in the movie or something, and that, you know, later on we don't get as much of this stuff, and it's mostly a Spider-Man-focused story, but I'm just afraid that we're gonna get too much, like, oh, fan service, here's this Spider-Man, here's this villain, here's this guy, and we're not actually going to get a story about Peter Parker. Like, or Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Like, I just don't really care. Like, we got Spider-Verse, and it was creative and fun, and now we're just like, this just isn't the type of thing that I'm looking forward to. Like, I'm just very conflicted, because, like I said, it gave me that kind of feeling of enjoyment that none of these other Marvel things have given me. And I feel like it's just that, like, you know, I don't know what the right word is. Like, just maybe it's just my bias, right, for Spider-Man as a character, because I love him, and I love Tom Holland as well. But this movie just looks so weird. Like, you know, I guess it's true that it was a teaser, despite the fact that it was 3 minutes. It didn't really give a ton away about the plot, even though it kind of did. And it showed enough to the point where I'm kind of nervous about it. But at the same time, like, you know, I will give it a chance. Like, I actually want to watch this one. It's not like these other Marvel shows and movies like Loki and the Eternals and whatever else where I'm like, I don't care. It's like, I like Spider-Man. I'll see how it goes. I want to see it. I guess we'll just hope that it's good. I just really hope it's not Doctor Strange 2 starring Spider-Man, you know? Like, so, yeah. I know that you guys probably would have expected me to be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome, but, like, I don't know. I'm very conflicted. I need to see more. I need to wait and see, but, you know, I like Spider-Man. So, you guys please let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of the trailer? Are you excited for it? Do you have the same trepidations and concerns that I do about it? Just whatever your thoughts are, please let me know them all in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.